sound backstage at UNIFY 2018. Jenna McDougall, everyone.
G'day.
It's where we would normally have a sound effect, but sorry.
That's okay.
It's a big day for Tonight Alive. Congratulations, Underworld, finally out. Well done.
Thank you. That's a really nice thing to say. Well done. Sometimes that's more than enough, you know?
Really?
It's like kind of an energetic pat on the back. Well done.
It's what you need. Like, how did you guys celebrate this morning? The album's finally out. You've been teasing it for so long. You've spoken about it with us previously in the past. It's now out there for the world to see, to judge, to feel, to, relate to.
Thank you. Well, we rolled out of bed. We said happy release day, and then we drove down to UNIFY. So that's been it so far.
There's no cake?
The peak is still to come.
Okay, right, gotcha.
I
So
think
essentially that's after your set tonight.
I'm feeling that.
Excellent.
It'll be the set and the aftermath of the set.
Well, we look forward to seeing what comes from that.
Thank you.
So with the album out, you finally got all these stories again. You're sharing your heart, your insecurities, your emotions and things like that. For yourself, do you worry how fans react when you put this out there and you're pretty much down on your knees going, here's what I've got for you, please enjoy it, that kind of situation?
Thanks for being so perceptive.
I'm trying to explain it as best as I can.
Oh, it's really kind.
I'll get there in a second and I'll explain why I'm going down that angle.
I really appreciate it. No, well, to answer your question, I'm not worried at all.
No?
I have no fear. I have no, hesitations, nothing. I told the truth on the record, and it's not like it's the first time I've ever told the truth, but it's the most authentically I've ever done it.
Yeah.
And more importantly than anything, I told the truth to myself, and I think that's something I swept under the rug for a really long time. Yeah.
Look, the reason I ask that is because I want to jump in your shoes for a second and live vicariously through you. I came out recently to the world and revealed my bisexuality to everyone, and I can't explain it in diagrams, but I can sort of say I felt like this cleanse, like this dark kind of spirit kind of thing, if you will, leaving my body, and I realised I've got no more issues and nothing on my shoulders anymore. Is that sort of the same way you feel when you release an album?
I feel so good for you. That is so awesome. I felt something leave me when you said that. That's amazing. Yeah, I think I've been experimenting and trying to educate myself on the topic of the shadow self. Shadow self is the part of you that you neglect, abandon, that you shun, that you're embarrassed of, that you ignore, that somebody made you feel ashamed for, and therefore you have always carried that shadow. It's with you all the time. Where there's great light, there's great shadow.
Correct.
And it just feels really good to actually face the shadow and say, hey, I acknowledge you, and hey, let's talk about this. And just to see that part of yourself as an innocent, vulnerable, beautiful thing, the inner child that's just like, please just love me and nurture me.
Yeah.
And I understand exactly why you feel that way.
Yes.
And I think the record is a lot to do, is sort of those kind of moments.
If I could essentially sit down with you and do a songwriting session, you could write the song for my life and everything like that, because you have such a better way of doing it. I can't sing to save my life. But I've always wondered, with yourself growing up in the spotlight, you've been doing this for such a long time. You've put yourself out there, and with each album that comes out, you essentially reveal something new, something hidden. And it's kind of a maturing approach to your ability to write songs, to become a musician and prove that you are in the public eye. You are a role model to people, but you're just like everyone else.
Thank you.
Is that pretty much along the right lines?
I really appreciate everything you're saying. You're kind of like speaking to my heart right now.
I didn't know the best way to explain it, so I don't want to fill you with compliments or anything like that. But
I don't feel flattered. I just feel understood.
Yeah,
so
and that's what it's like. I'm stoked to see the progression that Tonight Alive has had, and even yourself as well too, with each songwriting that comes out. The big question, obviously, a lot of people want to know is, when are you making the transition into acting?
Into acting?
Yes.
Do you know what? I think I'm a shit actor.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel... Yeah?
Go on, tell me more.
I feel so embarrassed when I have to fake something.
Yeah.
When I don't feel like I'm doing something that came for real. That's why, I don't know if you're saying that because of Disappear or something like that, the video. What made you say
because
that?
I look at you and I look at, what you've done over the years, and normally it's about the time that you've been in the band for a decade or so that you start branching out and trying new things.
Right.
I look to you as the Australian edition of Gwen Stefani, so to say. Gwen Stefani was in No Doubt, went solo, did some movies. Jenna McDougall, is there a solo venture in mind, or is there going to be some sort of acting at some point in the future?
I'd like to make a solo record.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
And how, obviously something you've thought about, how would that differ from what you've done with Tonight Alive?
just think it wouldn't have any borders or boundaries.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have a genre. It wouldn't have like it wouldn't be limited to sort of like members that can play certain instruments. I want to make music with everybody and like friends and just branch out and muck around. Like it'd be the first time I really feel like I could really just experiment, like truly, without any sort of, without knowing that you're making a record for a band that has a genre, that has a following, that belongs to a scene. Even though you can still do whatever the hell you want, there's still those kind of borders.
And you kind of, I guess you could say, in the past you've been restricted with the type of venture you can do with your music. I would love to talk about Limitless in a second before I lose my train of thought, but you're kind of in a position where like people are telling you what you need to do. Whereas if you go out solo, you've got the backing, you've got the support and the brain power to do it, and it's essentially what you want and your rules, the way you want to do it.
And I think it would be great to make a first record again.
Yeah.
Because making our first record, I was 18 and I didn't know what I wanted, and I didn't know how to use my voice. I wasn't conscious about being a songwriter at all. And what came out of that record, I think, is a result of channeling and like just a natural moment in time. But like, it'd be really cool to be, I'm 25 now, I want to start writing this record and just really curate it. Be the brains behind it, and the way it goes is the way you want it, not how someone else tells you, oh, you should do it this way. And take more time with it too.
Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot of potential and possibility.
Well, looking forward to see what comes from that. You heard it here first, maybe.
I think that was the first time I've ever said that.
Excellent. Well, Jenna McDougall's solo album will be great. But let's go back. I want to talk about Limitless. For myself, I'm not the biggest Tonight Alive fan. I'm not like the hordes of fans that you have that follow you around the world to shows and things like that. I didn't mind the album. I actually genuinely enjoyed Limitless. And so when I hear people saying, you know, it wasn't as good as, you know, one of the earlier works, or it was completely removed from what you've done in the past, I saw it as a continuation from The Edge, which I loved because I'm a mad Spider-Man fan. For yourself, when you hear stuff like that, I want to know, like, how do you feel? Because, to quote your own song as well too, you've put this out there for fans and it hasn't resonated. Do you wipe it away from history, or do you just acknowledge, okay, it wasn't what you liked, let's try something different?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something I had to grieve, to be honest. Like, while we were on the road, David Benders came out. It must have been in like November last year, which would have only been about 9 months or so after the record had come out. And you know, he said, what happened? And we kept getting that kind of dialogue that was like, we did everything we could, and like people didn't. And I was just like, I'm not hearing that. Like, I can't listen to that, because I got to get on stage every day and care about this and show people where it comes from in the heart. And I felt really, really connected to that record, and it was really, really hard sort of being dropped by our labels, to be honest. We lost our backing because we didn't have commercial success with it, which is what the goal was, you know, which was against my wishes. I got But it was kind of like a trust. It was just a trust record, hoping that, hey, let's try something different. Let's really like make it organic, as organic as possible, with other people's encouragement and agendas and stuff like that involved. And it was quite heartbreaking, to be honest. And it took me until this time last year, around January, when we took months off to write Underworld, that I had a moment where I was like, wow, like on this record, my subconscious was screaming out, saying like, I don't want to compromise, and I just want to be free, and like, I want to be honest, and all these things that I just couldn't do at the time. And while we were making that record, I felt like I was being strangled. Like, I honestly had that physical sensation every time that I went up to the mic, that someone was going, stop. And so that's a really emotional like answer, and I don't really remember what your question was.
I think you answered it. It was a hard situation to go through. And I think it's obviously a bullshit experience for you guys getting dropped. However, you guys got picked up straight away. Underworld is out right now. It's scoring rave reviews. It's fucking fantastic. Get yourself a copy.
Thank you.
Before we go, just got a couple of fan questions to get through, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
So Renee wants to know, what's it going to take to get New Heights on the set list?
Renee, I know exactly who that is. And she always asks. I want to play it, honestly. I should just learn it myself. I always said to Whack, I was like, let's find out a way to do this as a better rendition than it was as a demo. You know, it's a pretty shoddy song and pretty shoddy recording. So I'd love to work on that song, and I'd love to bring it back on a headline tour. I think it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's seriously, it didn't go on the EP, like it was pre-EP days. So I think what was her question?
What's it going to take to get that on the set list?
Not much more. She's probably asked enough times now.
All right, sweet. So 100 more times, there you go. It's going to happen. Excellent. Jenna McDougall from Tonight Alive, thank you so much for the chat.
You.
All
My
the best with
pleasure.
the album, and mate, we'll have you back again soon.
Really appreciate it. Thank you, man.